Okay, we're recording. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna just post up the YouTube channel for our videos. This is the link. I'm gonna post the link, and when you get the link, just subscribe to the station, and that way, when new videos get posted, you'll be notified. Okay.
Last it's 2 units though.
That.
So couldn't be one of those.
Pause that for a second.
It's okay, 2 units. So it's a 2-unit house.
Sorry.
Upstairs, downstairs, or duplex.
Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, that's just from the last video. You can grab that link and just subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be notified when new videos come up. Okay. So Jane, you were asking me about that. That's where the recorded videos are. Mike, is that the link right there? What is that? Or is that a spreadsheet you were looking at? You want me to review? That's the YouTube link there. Let me see if I can get that to work. Let me see. That is the Google Doc. Let's see. Could probably still use that. Let me see. Oh, there we go. It won't let me edit the file. Let's see. So I'll use it as an Excel file. Let me see if that works out. I can edit it now? Okay. Let me see if I can download it as... Let's see. You can view this document to make changes. Ask the owner. Let me see what happens. Okay. There we go. Oh, there we go. I got it in an Excel file. That's great. Either way is fine. Okay. So, yep. Okay. So we can do this one. We'll do this file, this property here. I'm also going to do one that Jane sent me. Let's see. I'm also going to give you some more files that you can have access to. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go meeting. Let's add some files here. Files. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to add some files for you. Some of you already have these files. If you don't, you can grab them, obviously. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to give you some files. Some of them you can use right away. Some of them, you can have as a reference point. It's no big deal. But I'll post them if you don't have them. That's terms and conditions. This is the clauses that we like to use in our contracts. You still want to review it, obviously, with your attorney. But these are the core clauses that we like to use. Option agreement. Okay. Still, again, this is a base option agreement you can use. Still want to obviously input the information. You can download these as you see them, obviously. I'm going to continue to drop these files in. Okay, I got some documents on here. Letter of intent. This is another file. Okay, if you don't understand them all, don't worry. Just take some time to review them. We go over many of this stuff. I like to go over this stuff when we're actually doing a deal versus just talking about them in general, which we can do. It's just asking questions about it without the need for it. What it can do for you, I think, is more difficult to keep that information sticking to you, right? To use it. Application really is the best thing, absolutely, that I believe you could do to help yourself better understand what they mean and what the value is. Some documents, mortgage financing. It's another document that came from Tarek, who helped us out better understand, what the banks are looking for. I think that's good for now. Download those files. Okay. Right now we'll start with those. Anybody else have a property they wanted to review tonight? I got 2 so far. If you do, you can do what Mike did, was just send me a link, or you can email it to me. Oh, that's good, Frank. That's good. Yeah, no worries. Anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to talk about tonight? Pre-foreclosure, okay. In reference to, do you have something you're looking at? I know you are, actually, Miriam. You were telling me about that. Seeing the links. Are you on Jane, are you on a cell phone? No? And you're not seeing these links right here? These files in the middle here? Do you see it, just a box? Is that what you see? I did at first, but it wasn't clear. That's odd. Okay, okay, there's another property. Okay, do this, Jane. Send me an email right now and I'll email you the files, okay? Or a link where you can access those files. Okay, that's interesting. Hi, you sent me a document here. It looks like some kind of file. It's not the typical one we use, but we can convert the information into the main file that we use. I did at first, okay. Okay. I was sent this by the seller's realtor. No worries. So when you get information, just put it in our type of Excel sheet that we use to evaluate. That's the easiest one for us to analyze with. We can always use it that way. So Jane just sent me an email, and I will send you those files if you can't see them. And anybody else want to talk about something tonight or want to send a file to analyze a property, just send it to me now. I got a couple already, but I'm sure we got time to do more. You have echoes, Jane? Did you get my links? Maybe not. Hold on one sec. Jane, you probably have an echo because you're still in the other meeting. I'll get you out. Don't worry. There. The echo should be gone. Yeah, I got you out of the other room. You're good. Let me see if that one came. Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay. I can't see the one. You said you sent me a link. I'm looking at the emails. I'm not seeing the link that you sent me. Buddy, do you see that? I don't see the link. Can you resend that to me? I'm not seeing the link part of it. Okay, Dave. No worries. We can review that when you get a chance to put that together. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's do this. If anybody needs, everybody got these files okay? If you don't, if you do, I want to share my screen to start looking at properties. Does anybody need more time? No, okay. Carol's good. Anybody else need more time? You're all good? Okay. Let's share that then. Hold on. There we go. Beautiful. Got it. Okay. Does everybody have the link to where the recordings are? Does anybody need that link? Any chance you can speak a little louder? Oh yeah, sure. Let's see if we can turn up the volume. Is that better? Is that good? Yeah. All right. Let me move that over. Okay, that's there. Good. All right. So, okay. So let's look at the properties. Miriam, I'll come back to that pre-foreclosure deal. I know you had a couple questions about that. We'll talk about that. I'm going to share my screen now. So share screen. There we go. Everybody see that okay? You can see my screen? Just want to make sure you guys are seeing, hold on. Sure it is, but let me see. I want to make sure it's nice and big. Okay, share my screen. All right. Okay. All right, so now we're looking at a property. I believe this is this yours, Jane? I think this is yours. Let's see. This one's yours, right, Jane? No? No one wants to claim this property? No? Okay. All right. I will go through this. Let's see, this is the problem. Hold on. Let me identify first. Let's do this. It is whose property? It is. Give me 1 second. So I can. This one is. I believe a test property. Let's see. Yep, Jane. Jane, this is the test property that you sent me. Okay, well I'm gonna analyze it. Hold on. Okay, so here we go. Let's share again. Okay. All right. You just sent. Okay, good, Frank. All right, so let's look at this property. 169. Purchase price 169. Rents $1,800. Gross revenue is 21,000. Expenses we have 10 and 10 for these. I think that we put those in. Okay. So if you know the exact expenses, this is what controls this here. Yeah, you just punch it in and it gives you the number. But that's okay. The sheet's been modified. That's all right. If you know the exact expenses, just put them in this line. And then you can remove the expenses of insurance or the vacancy or both. Either or, same difference. It's been taken off. The gross rent multiplier is 12.45, which is higher than what we'd like to see, but that's okay. Cap rate's 6, so it's right on the edge of, profitability. We can see what we can do with this. Based on that, we can see what we can do to improve it. Okay. Our value is 172. It's 169. Not as important, obviously. That just means a 10 cap rate. It's not a 10, so it's not going to match up. Cash flow per unit is 352. It's just the 1 unit. Okay. So bank financing, we have 80% from the bank. Seller financing is going to give us 5, and we're going to put up 15. Okay. When we come down here, we see the mortgage rate is 3.75. We have amortization 35 at 8% for the interest rate. Come down here and we see that we have a cash on cash return of 10 and cash flow is 352. We're fine. This is fine. This is good property. And the only thing I would suggest, always looking at is extremes. How do we get the cash on cash return to be higher? Obviously, that's going to affect our cash flow. So if we switch these around and see that, we can actually increase our return to 14.6%, and the cash flow per unit is 164. Obviously, that's come down, but remember something, that your money, the money that you had in there now is out of there. Does everybody understand that? What we just did? So in my view, and that's okay, it depends what you're looking for, right? But in my view, I would shoot towards, a higher return versus cash flow. Obviously, we don't want the monthly cash flow to be less than $75 a unit. This is a single family home, so you're probably going to push towards cash flow versus return. But you still don't want to go less than 10%. Now it's a single unit. Obviously, we'd rather see this as a rent to own. Yep, that's yours. Yep, and the way to improve this one is going to be best thing we can do is to take away these two metrics, and that will allow us to maximize the return. So if we had vacancy maintenance and property management at 0, This is going to improve the property because as a rent-to-own, we don't have to really worry about these particular things. So you can see that our return has increased as well as our cash flow. That would be the best scenario for this particular property. Again, we could improve it if we got an investor to give us even all the money at 8%. We'd still be in great shape. Everybody see that? We'd still be in great shape. That's paying the investor 8%. Let's see, we pay 10. You can actually pay an investor 10% return, make $172 a month, and have an infinite return with no money in. Do you see that, Jane? Good. Anybody have any questions about this one? So when we're looking at any property, we're trying to maximize the return first and cash flow second. But that doesn't mean you can't say, I want cash flow over return. You can. If your goal is to, obviously our goal is to get the maximum cash flow, but if you're looking for a particular deal to produce more cash flow, that's fine. Just don't go under 10% return. So the gross rent with cap don't have to be in the targets. Yeah, that's right, Jane. Yeah, obviously when the cap rate is 10, that's going to produce a great return, great cash flow. As they go lower, we're going to have to be more creative on the sources of funding, interest rates, how we structure it, and that's okay. That's what we want to become experts on, to take mediocre properties and make them great. That's the advantage of what we do. So definitely, it's taking what you have and trying to make it better without trying to reduce the cost. And you can see, folks, that we didn't reduce the actual purchase price. We've been working just on the creative financing side. Obviously, reducing the price is going to improve your numbers, but the more effective and more accomplished, I guess, a task is dealing with the creative financing versus just going after purchase price. Now, clearly, we want money in the buy and we want to get the best possible deal we can. Ultimately, if the property pays you and you get 10% return, you're getting $75 a door, you're in business. Now, that's more of a metric we'd want to use in a multi-unit, duplex, triplex, fourplex, all the way up, versus a single unit. A single unit, we'd want to lean towards a rent-to-own model. Okay? Any questions? Good. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay. This one. All right. So we have property $750,000. Purchase price $750. Okay. Gross rent is $59.56. There's 5 units. Just a little under $1,200 is the cost. Oh, I see that. Excellent. Is the cost per unit, the rent coming in. Expenses have been, obviously the insurance and the taxes have been put here for exact expense. Excellent. The 20% is pretty standard for the maintenance, property management, vacancy. That's good. Gross rent multiplier is 10.49. Cap rate is 6.6. Workable. Our value is $469. So this is a big stretch. The property is $750. Let's see what we can do with this property. Cash flow per unit is $84 a month. So currently, the way you got that set up, looks like it's going to work for us. $84 of 13% return. We're paying the investor 10% return, which is awesome. And we have the first mortgage, 30-year, $375. So this property, as it sits right now, is workable. The only thing we maybe test, obviously, is to see if we can increase that return and put less money in. So let's try that. See what happens there. We went there and there. Oops. Apologies. Let's go the other way. 20 and 0. Okay, that's not going to work because that puts us under 75 a door. What we can do is, what can you tell me? What can you tell me about how we can improve this? We need monthly cash flow to get up to 75. Let's just say that we want no money in. Okay, we got 20%, and we want to pay our investor 10% return. What can we do to improve this property? Anybody? Some ideas of what we could do to improve this property without attacking the price, and just dealing with the financing end of it. Negotiate to pay just the interest. Yep, that's one way. Yep, 1 unit is commercial and 4 units residential. Okay, Mike. Okay, so a couple things we could do. Let's see what would happen if we just paid interest only. It would only give us another $4 per unit, so that's not going to work enough. It's not going to be enough, but interest only would help. What if we extended the mortgage? 40-year still wouldn't get us there. What about maybe getting a better interest rate? That would help. So if we got a 35, that's going to work. 35. So if we could get a 35-year mortgage from another broker in 40 years, let's change it to 35, see what happens. Oh, it's still good. Let's go 3.75. That's not going to do it. 3.5 is what we need. What if we did 10, 10, and we did 3.75? That'll work. What about 4.5? You can do 4.5. Okay, so the one is it possible to get a longer mortgage? Yeah, Mike, it's possible, depending on the lender. You might pay a little bit more. That's why I moved it to 4.5. That's pretty high, but we'd have to look at it and look at different people. The main thing is to walk in with the assumption or the idea that, hey, what does this look like if I extend the mortgage? Because at the end of the day, you're acquiring this, Mike, for the cash flow. Now, you might be, Mike, because it's a 5-unit and there's an actual commercial building. Have you talked to someone about financing? A couple? Did they say they could get you 80% for this? 80%? Some, they don't do commercial. Did anybody tell you that does commercial they can get you 80%? Because you might be looking at something like this. Yeah, you might be looking at something more like 65% first mortgage. Let's go. 65% first mortgage, second mortgage, seller financing, out of pocket, 10%. That might be because it's commercial. When in that case, we need to, it's because it's commercial. We might have to even drop this to 25. This might be a problem, the second mortgage. I think for this property, folks, we'd have to see what you can do in the way of financing with that first mortgage. We'd like that first mortgage to be 80. I'm wondering if you're gonna hit a wall a little bit with the commercial, because the commercial they might put up 65. So Mike, do this. So whoever you're talking to, see if they can get you what's the limits of the mortgage. Some will look at a 5-unit as residential, but this has a commercial unit in it, right? So this might be seen as this might be just period viewed as a commercial property because of the commercial unit, even though you have residents at the top. Yeah, that's right. So Mike, talk to your brokers, whoever you're talking to, the mortgage brokers you're talking to, and ask them how much financing and the cost of that financing for a first mortgage. That's I think the best place to start with that. Dave, I know you do a lot of commercial stuff. Do you have anybody in Alberta to maybe reach out to that Mike can reach out to? ATB Financial. Okay, there you go, Mike. This is someone Dave's worked with. Dave's done a great job in the last a year or so, building up his portfolio. He's also working on commercial. He has his own business. He's done very well for himself. So a guy. Is there a name, Dave, that you can post, or if you don't want to post his name because we're recording right now, that's fine. But I mean, for the most part, most people want to be able to be promoted. So, but that I'll leave that in your hands. So Mike, did you get that? You got that? You're good. Beautiful. This is how we do it, folks. We help each other build our legacy. Okay, share the love. Exactly. All right. Wait, Mike, don't do that. Don't put up your email. This is recorded, remember. Just do it at the end, okay? Do it at the end, okay? Yep, good. So, Mike, you'll put up your email. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. And we'll, anybody who wants to exchange emails and stuff, we just do them at the end, okay? Appreciate it. Okay, so let's see what we can find out, Mike, with financing first, and then we'll revisit this one, okay? Okay, good. Any other questions from anybody on this particular property? My pleasure. No, we're good? Okay, so I'm going to stop us sharing for a second. So I'm going to bring up some new ones that I got. Okay, so let us see. Okay, that's that. Let's see. Okay, so now I got the townhouse here. I think. Okay, so you showed me this property. It's a listing of a property. Okay, so it needs to be transferred over into the sheet. Okay, but that's okay. We'll do that. We'll do that. Typically, Letty, you were asking me to do that, right? You want to see how to analyze that? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Okay, we can do that. Okay, so let's do this. Let me move this over. Hold on. Okay, there you go. That's over there. Let's bring up sheet. You can use one of these sheets. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and let's do this. Okay, we're looking at a listing. We're going to transfer the numbers over to the sheet. I'm just going to use one of the sheets we have. It really doesn't matter. And Excel sheet does not work here. No worries, no worries. Okay, so let's do this. Share my screen. Okay, share. Okay, so you see this property. We've looked at this property, but we're going to input different numbers in there, okay? So the numbers that we have here is the properties 275000. Let's see what else it says. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family. We really don't care. We're looking at, it's a single family home. Let's see. Maintenance fees 183. Maintenance fees include exterior. So there's condo fees of 183 bucks. So let's put them there. That's in addition to any additional fees. Let's see if they have taxes. I don't see taxes on this listing. Nope. Okay, so we don't know the taxes on this property. So we're going to lean to 20 and 20 for now. Income. We're going to have to look at the income. I'm using, okay, do you know the rents? You know what the rents are in this area? Cities, yeah. 13 to 14. So let's go 1350. Okay. All right. So this is what you do. You put the purchase price. If you don't know expenses, this is just an additional expense that they said it was 183 a month for condo fees. So we're going to stick with maintenance and the other expenses at 20 and 20, and they might be lower or higher, but we'll just put that as a number right now. When we look at this property, we see that the gross rent multiplier is 16.98. The more concerning thing here is the cap rate at 3.5. Basically, does everyone understand why 3.5? We can't do much with that. in the way of making this property work. Currently, you know, it says 145, but that's because of the financing. If you put 80, 0, and 20 as a regular property, and we just went 25 and 3.5, we look like we'd be losing about $60 a month. Change the number of units. This is, yeah, 1 unit, right? 1 unit. Okay, so 1 unit, the monthly loss will be $303 per month. So, you see why that this property, as it sits right now, would be a problem for us. Do you see that? And really, it's not even, you don't even need to get to this side. When you see a 3.5 cap rate, which is not uncommon actually in metropolitan areas, 3.5 cap rate, it doesn't leave a lot of room for financing. You see that? It doesn't leave any room. And again, I want to remind everybody what cap rate's measuring for us. It's measuring as though we put up all the cash. So to give you an example, so 0 financing, I put up 100% of the money, and you can see that the cash-on-cash return is 3.5. That's what the cap rate's telling you, right? So if the cap rate is 3.5, in other words, if I pay cash, so I put up all the money, no financing at all, you can see there's no mortgage payment here. At 3.5, there's really no room for financing, right? Because financing is going to be in the 3 and change range, right? So what this does for us, and why this sheet's so important to us, is when we input this basic information, if we see the cap rate is, you know, even, I mean, it's tough. Under 6 can get tough to make a property work. You still can, it's possible, but you need to work on the creative financing side, this side of it, right? But at 3.5, it really doesn't leave a lot of room for any financing at all, because the financing is going to wipe out all this money because of that mortgage. Does everybody see that? Well, if you wanted to, the only option here is, and we got to recognize this, not every property is going to make us money. We can't make any property into a good property. But let's say if we were looking at this property, and this is a single unit, that we would have to be able to take that to a 0, right? And that's the vacancy maintenance property management. We can't get rid of the condo fee. That's the condo fee, right? Now, when we do this, we see the cap rates bump to 4.6, right? 4.6. And let's see what we can do here. Now, if I do 80, and I go, let's try to put an investor in the whole amount, okay? And let me go, let's say I can get a 30-year from a mortgage broker, and financing, well, I can't pay this guy 10%, that's for sure. I'd probably, to tell you the truth, I'd probably be looking, let's see, so we'd have to look at somebody to partner up on this deal, to put up the capital, 55. And here we see that even with all that, this one's going to produce about $80 a month. Now, that's not totally true because we'd increase the rent to $1,500 because it's a lease option and there's going to be a rent credit. We can get $200 out of this property, per month if we converted it to a rent to own. Do you see that? And if we look over here to the appreciation rate, if we said the appreciation rate of this area was 5, 5, and 5, you know, then we'd see that we could get the property up to $318,000, right, from the 275, and that would give us an additional, you know, looks like 25, 35, 40, $43,000. So $43,000 was what we'd get in the capital at the end of the deal. Is the profit there, plus the $75 that we were making with cash flow, because that's the cash flow we keep. Does everybody see what I'm doing here? So I'm moving pretty quick. So here, let me explain this. So if we went $1,350, and I take this as the monthly cash flow, that's the money we keep, right? And I multiply that by, equals this by 36 months. 36 months, okay, that's going to give me $2,800, $2,900, and then I look at the difference between the two properties, the value and the purchase price. So here's the end value here. The purchase price is, our purchase price was $275. It's here. That would give us this minus this. So give us another 43,000. If we sum those like that. So it would be $46,225.08 at the end of the deal. Yeah, you can do interest only. I don't think that that'll help you because the cap rate's too low, even with that, to make that work. So if you're asking me what we can do with this property, I would tell you to turn it into a rent to own, and 46,225 would be what's left over at the end of this deal. And if we split that, half for you, half for your investor, you're looking at 23,000. One second. Oh, give me 1 second. That would give you how much you would make and how much they'd make. Do you see that? Everybody following? Anybody lost? I'm moving pretty quick. Lost here. No worries. No worries. Okay, look. So what I'm saying is, Letty, when you said, okay, what can we do with this property? So we can't, first of all, we don't want to do that with single family homes, but with properties, give me 1 second, folks. I just need to help somebody out. They're trying to get into the room, okay? Give me 1 second. So everybody, please, if you're new to the room, please make sure, even if you're not, just save this to your favorites, this room, and then we can 1 second. We can just click on that. Unsave for a second. We can click on that to allow us to get into the room every time. So the reason that's important is because sometimes you forget what the room is. This is the room that you'll always be in moving forward. Unless something comes up, it'll never change. This is the one. So just make sure you save it. Make it easy. Life easy. 1 second. Get this link for somebody. Okay, hold on. Link. Go. There we go. Good. All right. So going back to the property. Okay. Let's go back to the property. So I'll share my screen again, so we can review it again. Okay. So let's see. R value is NOI times 10. It seems self-explanatory, but I don't remember why it's important. Well, 10 cap rate. What does 10 cap rate represent? Well, it represents the return I would get if I paid cash for the property. Okay? So if I paid cash for the property, that's what that 10 cap rate represents. Does everybody see that? The 10 cap rate becomes important to us because of that. Because it's basically saying, you're trying to establish, what's your money worth? What do you want it to grow at? And at 10 is kind of the minimum. Now, it doesn't mean you can't work with a property with less than a 10 cap rate. You can't. It's just as your cap rate starts to lower, financing becomes more challenging. So right now we're working with a cap rate of 4.6. So, Letty, going back to the situation here. So you see this property, you look at it and you say, what can I do with this? What's the best I can do with it? So if we could make it a rent to own, so we've gotten rid of these costs. This is because there's a condo fee. We're going to leave that in there, and the expenses might be less. The insurance and the taxes might be less on this property. I'm not sure. You'd have to check that. But start with the 20. If it improves, great. So with a 16.98 gross rent multiplier and a cap rate of 4.6, what can we do with this? Well, if we turn it into a rent to own and we get an investor, so 80% from the bank, 20% from an investor, okay? They're going to partner with us, the investor. They're going to partner with us, and we're trying to see what we can legitimately offer this investor. Okay, so let's do one thing here. I'll just do this real quick. So let's say that the investor puts up 20% and we put up 0, okay? What could we legitimately offer this investor and still make this property work? Well, you can see that if I have a 0 return for this investor, interest rate, I'm still at $79, right, which is right on the edge, right? So there's not much I can offer this investor, in this scenario at least, for straight interest return on their investment. Better off I bring them in as a partner. Now, if I can bring them in as a partner, there is no interest rate, right? They're a partner. They're banking on, at the end of this deal, they're going to make money, okay? So when we do that, and I'll do this again. So let's go cash flow. This is a rent to own, okay? Cash flow. So the cash flow for 3 years, 36 months, right? 3 years. The cash flow is going to be what? Well, even though, and I'll just put this here, the cash flow, okay, so I'm just going to paste it here. So the cash flow per month, okay, the cash flow per month on this property, let's make that line, is $79.95. That's the cash flow, okay? Now, obviously, when we do the rent to own, we increase the rent. So even though the rent shows, by increasing the rent, we're up to $199, right? So we're up to $199 in cash flow, okay? It's actually a little bit higher than $199. That's because it's taking the expenses away based on that income. But the increase is not really ours, right? You see that, Letty, right? That's the rent credit. Now we can take it, we can spend it, but at the end of the term, we have to give them back that money. Does that make sense? Letty, with me? Yep. Okay, good. So the cash flow is the real cash flow is $79.95 currently, the way we see it. So if I do 33 years, right, which is 36 months, that's 36 months. So in 36 months, at the end of the deal, right, times this, 36 months, that's the term of the contract, right, 3 years, okay? That's going to give me $2,878, okay? So cash flow per month, okay? Month, spell, month, what's wrong with me? Let's get this right. There we go. That's cash flow per month, right? That's what we're doing here, okay? This here is the number of months, right? So the number of months, so total months, okay, is 36, and total cash flow, right? Okay, so then we have the how much did we make on the property? Well, the purchase price was this right here, $275, right? That's $275, okay? Then we have sale price. That's to the tenant buyer. Okay, sale price. Spot. Okay, that's going to be up here. This price. Why? Because the actual price was $275. This is the appreciation, 5 and 5. That's us at 5% a year. It's going to give us, $318,347. Okay, do you see that? Can we do 3? Yeah, we could. I mean, we could, absolutely. I mean, if we do that, it's really the market that decides that. But if we could do 3. But when you do 3, obviously that's going to reduce our end purchase price. Okay, so if I do that, I go equals this, right? The purchase price, the sale price, which is $300,000 at 3%, right? If we're doing 3%, that's going to leave 25,500. Does everybody see that? So we have total cash flow, and then we have total profit from sale, right? From sale, okay? So that we have total profit from sale. So what does that leave you? Well, if we go this is the cash flow plus, the total profit, that is what you're making for 3 years. For 3 years. So for 3 years, this is relatively small because if we do this equals this divided by 3 years, that's about $9,459. That's about half of what we expect from a rent to own. So does that make sense, Letty, so far? Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about this so far? Anybody? Everybody's with me, right? Everyone follows? Okay, the other thing we got to deal with, that's per year, right? That's per year, okay? But the other thing we got to deal with is there's 2 of you, right? Your profit, your partner's profit, right? So your profit, okay, is going to be this 28,000, which is the total amount, divided by 2. That's your profit, 14,000. The investor profit is going to be also the same number, right? Because it's half, right? Now, for you, how much did you put into this property? 0. Now, for the investor, they put the seller finance, and they put up 55,000. So for them, if the investor profit was 14,000 and the investor investment was 55,000, which is up here, right? That's what they put up, 55,000. What's their return? Well, their ROI, yours is infinite. Their ROI is going to be this divided by this, okay? So they make 26% return is what they're making for percentage, 26% return, which doesn't sound that bad. But you got to remember something, that's over 3 years. So if we divide that by 3, and it's less than that actually, because it's a compound rate, you're looking at about, an 8% return, 8.5. Yeah, you're looking at about 8. If it's compounded, it would be less, but that would be it. That would be it. Does that make sense to everybody? So just to give you an example of changing this to 5. So if we went 5, 5, and 5, look what the difference would be. It's considerable, yes? 5, 5, and 5 brings this up quite a bit different if we're at 5% appreciation rate, right? Now, looking at this property, if we were looking at this property and seeing what's the best we could do, the best we can do, Letty, is to get an investor who would be willing to put up the 55 grand, and we would make 23,000, they would make 23,000. The investor would put up 55,000. You could legitimately offer, roughly 42% return on their money. This is why you go through this, because you want to be able to legitimately offer people opportunity. You need to know ahead of time, what's real, right? Because you got to make money at this deal too, right? You got to make money. So, for you to do this and make sure that you are making money, then you have to go through the exercise so you can meet the commitment of your investors. 5% appreciation won't happen always. No, of course, no appreciation will happen always. It's a future event, absolutely, Sanjay. But you got to remember, that the appreciation rate is in our contract. Sarju, sorry about that. Sarju, the appreciation is in the contract. So that's already established for us. That's predetermined. It's predetermined. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? But this is a good exercise because you need to do this stuff. You need to, now obviously we've used this as a sheet to work out rent to own. There's a different sheet we'd use for rent to own. But the point is the numbers are the numbers, right? Isn't 14% ROI for investor a year? What do you mean? Mike, what do you mean by that? The investor makes 14% a year. 23,000. Yeah, they're over 3 years. It's 42% on their money. If we did a compound rate of it, it might be 30, 42. It would be less than that. It would be less than 14. You could argue, though, it's an average of 14, right? The reason the number's gone up is because, well, the reason is because, Mike, we changed these numbers here, right? This was 3%. And now we've moved it to 5. That's why. So and this could be argued as a average 14% return, right? At the same time, though, if we compounded that rate, it would be less than 14, obviously, because compound returns are encompassing the return that we make each year. Does that make sense? So it'd be lower than 14% per year. But I'll tell you right now, nobody's making this. Like nobody's out there, consumer, making 42%. So an investor would love this. Like this would be great. 42% sounds awesome. As a return for anybody. So you could still make this deal work. The question becomes for you, Letty, is it worth your time for $23,000 on this property? And I would argue, really, to you, Mike, that maybe not. You could do more. You can do better. It takes work to put these deals together. $23,000 on a single-family home over 3 years is really not a ton of money. It's money. I don't want to say no that it's not money. It's money, but you can do better than that. I'd like to see you make closer to 30 if you have a partner and you got no money in. 30,000. It's not a bad deal, but you could do better. The other thing I want you to consider, folks, is that when it comes to rent to own, you're better off spending energy and time finding tenant buyers than houses. Much better. The tenant buyer is really the commodity in a rent to own, not the house, right? The house only makes sense or valuable because somebody wants to live there, and who wants to live there? Your tenant buyer. So I would spend, your focus on finding tenant buyers as a better use of your time, right? Yeah, Sierra knows all about that. Wilbert, they know all about that. So definitely want to go through the exercise of maximizing the opportunity of every property and knowing what you can offer realistically. And in this one, Letty, you would not only want to say to them, as a partner, I can give you this return, but also if they just wanted to be an investor, what can you offer them? If they just wanted to put up the capital, what could you offer them? In this case, with this property, the margins are so tight because the cap rate is 4.6. There's not much we could do in the way of financing, and offering them. And you want to give people a couple different options, an investor different options. If you want to just be the lender, this is what I can give you, secured with real estate, or you can be a partner and I can give you, and typically you're going to give them more as a partner. And that's okay for you because they're putting up the dough. Okay, so yeah, that's right, Jane. They look for the house. That's right, with your realtor. They would negotiate, but they'd find it. Tenant buyers as opposed to just tenants, is that what you mean, Sam? For rent to owns, yes, Frank. I mean, if it's a multi-unit, obviously you're looking for renters, but if tenants. But if you're looking at a single-family home, it's tenant buyers. Really is the focus. So to give you an example, a friend of mine in Leave the Properties in Montreal, a colleague of mine, Montreal, he's from Montreal, but the property actually is in Sarnia. And they got a tenant buyer. Somebody put a deal together for them. A student put a deal together where they got the tenant buyer and they found the property and they wholesaled the deal for $10,000 to my colleague who did the deal. Everybody understand what I just said? They wholesaled the tenant buyer and the property. So you can wholesale anything, really. Anything of value, obviously. It needs to have some value. So, that's how valuable tenant buyers are. Tenant buyers are the real value in a rent-to-own scenario. Single-family homes, as a non-rental, If you're flipping them, it's okay, you can do that. But if you're considering renting, like doing rent to owns, the tenant buyer is the way to go. Don't focus on the properties, because the property will make money just about every time if you have a tenant buyer. But you can't, I mean, without the tenant buyer, the single family home's value in your investing, in your investing approach, your system that you're going to use when you're looking at profitability is going to be a real challenge to make it work. Right? Does that make sense, Letty? Does that work? Good. I'm glad. Okay, any other questions about this one? How would you outcome change if you put in half the amount of your pocket in the investor, the other half? Yeah, we could do that. So to do that, we just go 10 and 10. Oops. So if you put 10 and 10, what you're going to see is the return goes to 27,000, 84%. Just give me 1 second. That's because I just put equals. No, that's right. So 27,000. If you put up 27,000 and they put up 27,000, you'd both make that 84% on your money at the end of the term. Everybody see that? So you're putting in 10, they're putting in 10, you're making 27,000. Sorry, 23,000 each. The investor put up 27.5. You'd make 84% average, right? Average. Now this is the question. Do I do that? 84% sounds pretty good. 23,000 on 3 years. Again, you're looking at about 7,000 a year. Not terrible. It's an option. I just think with your 27K, if you're looking at a rent to own, we could maybe do something different, do something better, right? But that would definitely be an option for sure, Jane. Is split the money. Split the money. And I would look at all options. I mean, that's the best thing you can do as an investor is look at different scenarios where all of the scenarios you're happy with. So we could be happy with the split. We could be happy with the 20%. The cash on cash return it's a different when you're looking at rent to owns. The cap rate and the cash on cash return can be justified or even if it's low because you're doing a rent to own, right? The cap rate and GRM and our creative financing to increase those returns. We need to look at that when we look at multi-unit or commercial property, Jane. When you're doing a rent to own, the 3.5 is not actually accurate because that 3.5 is the assumption is this is a long-term investment where we're just getting cash flow. This is us knowing because of this, right? The contract, we know that we're flipping this property. Because, at the same, if we looked at a rehabs have negative cash flow because they don't have income. That doesn't make them bad properties. It makes it acceptable that we're losing money on a flip for 90 days, say, or 30 days, because we know we're going to sell it. Does that make sense, Jade? So even though that cash on cash return looks like 3.5, which is a good catch. I mean, you see that, you think, well, wait a minute, it's 3.5. That's not the accurate number for a rent to own. Because it's a rent to own, your intention is to flip it, flip the property. It's just instead of trying to flip this property in 30 days, you're flipping it up in 3 years. Cool. Any other questions about this one? It does, but that's not how you can't assess the whole investment with just cash flow, right? And you have to look at, or your ROI in this format. You see what I'm saying? You'd have to look at the whole investment because you got to remember, we're not holding this long term, right? We want to flip the property. The big money you make in rent to owns is when you flip it, when you actually sell it. You make cash flow, you make the non-refundable upfront, you make the cash flow during the the investment, but at the end of the deal, that's where the real money's made, when the tenant buyer takes possession of the property. Does that make sense? You get that, Carol? Is that your question? You get that? Good. Good. Carol, does that answer your question? No? What's your question, Carol? Go ahead. Keep the down payment and find a new tenant buyer. You can do that too. You do that too. What happens if the tenant buyer doesn't buy it? What happens if the tenant buyer, that's the question? What if he doesn't buy it? If he doesn't buy it, he doesn't buy it. I mean, if he doesn't buy it, what do you get? You want to know what you get if he doesn't buy it? At the end of the term, I can tell you. You ready? This is what you get. 250 times 36, and you get $9,000. So 36 equals, because that's the rent credit, equals 250 times 36, $9,000 plus I get 9 in this property. I would get 3% because 3 to 5% equals this times just 303. So that's what you would get, equals sum this equals sum. Okay, there you go. So we get $17,250, right? Plus what? Plus what? What else would we get? $17,250. So we keep all that, right, Carol? What else would we get, Carol? Equity. You're right. Absolutely right. Equity for sure. We get equity too. What else would we get? How about, folks? What else would we get? We get this plus down payment. I mean, that's the non-refundable, right? The $9K. That's the rent credit. That's the what was the initial deposit? So Carol, they put up $82.50. That's 3%. That's the non-refundable option consideration, right? 3% of this. So the $8,250 they'd lose. They'd lose the $9,000 in rent credits. They'd lose that, right? We have equity. That's built up. Yeah, Mike mentions, if the market goes up 5%, we get a increase there. Yeah, you get you get a nice deck if any improvements made to the property are yours. That's right. Any improvements, good. And what do you do with the tenants? What do you mean, Carol? What do you do with the tenants? If they don't want to buy, the term's up, the lease is up. If they don't want to buy the property, do you kick them out? I hope not, Carol. We want them to choose that. You don't want to choose that. If they don't buy it, we got to ask ourselves, what's the reason they don't buy it? Before I do that, folks, just want to make a quick point. Remember, our monthly cash flow is $80, so we get the $80 too. So we don't just get 17,000. We get $80 times 36 also. Does everybody see that? $80 cash flow. The $250 was just the addition on top of this, but we still make $80. So it would be actually the cash flow. So $80. It was 79. Let me give you the exact, equals this in 36 months, and equals this times this would be another 20 there. So 20 and change. Sum that up, and we go here. So even if they don't buy the property, we make $20,000 if they didn't buy the property, plus obviously equity and any percentage that the property is increased in value. So it'd still be fine for us, right? Now, if they don't decide to stay, we'd have to look at why they didn't decide to stay. Was it they didn't have the money? Was it, you know, they had to move? Whatever it was. Obviously, Carol, we'd absolutely do everything we could to take care of them. We want to do that. If we can, but if we can't, then I mean they leave. I mean we can't stop them from leaving. You know, if they don't want to, they don't want to stay. They don't want to stay. But as everyone should be able to see, 20,000 is what we get if they don't stay. If they do stay, we get 46,000. You know, that's how much profit we'd make total, 46,000. Obviously, whether we split that or don't, it's 46,000 profitability versus the 20. Okay. So the down payment is not included in the property valuation calculation. No, Jane, that wasn't the non-refundable because this is not a sheet for rent to own. Thank you for the thank you. The down payment and rent credit protects you. Yeah, absolutely. That's what protects you. I'm not too familiar with the. I was wondering, how are you protected? Good. I'm glad that cleared that up. Someone else start with the new deposit. Yeah, we can start somebody else, Mike. That's right. And we need to sell the property right away. We could sell the property right away too. I mean I mean we don't have to keep the property. We can sell it and make money on the sale. You know, that's another option. We don't have to keep that property. You know, we just sell it. You know, go on to the next deal if it makes sense to sell it. And if we sell it, there's another, well, we see that the purchase price was $275, the sale price. We make another $43,000 from that profit too. So we end up making $64,000 almost. Yeah. We're about 15 minutes over, folks. Any other questions? I know some of you sent me some other stuff. We can review it for next Tuesday. If you need a response because you're working on the actual deal, I can definitely do that and review those and send it back to you. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up. It's been a good session. We covered a couple different scenarios. I just want to make sure if there's any questions before we leave. One thing I want to do, Miriam, you were asking me about lease options and I'm sorry, not lease options, foreclosures. The one question that we were talking about, Miriam, if you remember, was to leave them in the house. Can we help somebody who's going into foreclosure and they want to stay in the house? That was your situation, right, Miriam? I think that we would not want to do that. Miriam, you were going to look into how she was going to be able to afford the house. Did you find out if she could afford to live there? And Miriam was dealing with the divorce. The young lady wanted to stay in the house. Miriam was trying to stop the foreclosure because there was a buyout. The mortgage had to be paid out. If it wasn't, it was going to be taken. She really, really wanted to stay. Miriam was looking for a way to keep her in the house. The concern, of course, was could she afford the mortgage? So Miriam was going to look into that and see if she could afford the mortgage. Even with the affording of the mortgage, it can become challenging to leave them in the house. In this case, it was a rent to own. So she checked, but I'm not sure. I'm a broker in Quebec. She checked, but I'm not sure if it was a broker in Quebec. Is that what you're saying? Sorry. I need a broker in Quebec to look at it. Okay, who's from the Quebec area that has a broker that they're using in Quebec? Anybody? Maybe on the call that's working with somebody in Quebec? See, Frank. I may have one for Miriam. Good. Okay. So this is what we do. Don't do anything yet. So Frank and Miriam, you guys can exchange emails when I stop the recording, and I know that Dave and Mike were going to exchange for looking at a broker in the Alberta area. So that's good. Don't do anything there. Brokers can work. Yeah, you're right, Sarah. A lot of brokers can work Canada-wide. That being said, with Quebec, it might not be a bad idea to work somebody local, even if you're in Alberta or any place. If you're looking local, is a benefit. But yeah, you can pretty much work anywhere in Canada. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not a bad idea. Locals always good. Okay, so before I wrap up, I just want to double check. Everybody has the link to the videos, right? Nobody needs that link. We're done, right? Everybody's got that link? Not sure. Jane, that was the link I gave you way at the beginning. Do you remember? Okay, so nobody needs the link. Good, okay. But Jane, let me see. Let me see this. We're pretty early. See it. Okay, I'll get it for you. Hold on. Yeah, sure. Give me a second. I'll put it up. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording in a second here. Here, let me stop the recording. I'm going to stop the recording so you can exchange information, okay? And I'll give you that link. So let's stop the recording. This is the end of the session, folks. This recording will be up in the next couple days, and you'll be notified. Oh, there you go.